What's up? What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing? Happy Tuesday. Haha, it's a beautiful day out today. Happy Columbus Day. All right. So, has David lost his mind? Is he making a political video? No, it's not a political video. All right. But I want you guys to understand, right? I make videos all the time. I talk about different things. We made a video the other day about Tesla and We Robot. So I have an investing strategy, right? And to me, it doesn't matter who gets elected, right? Which side wins, because I feel like my strategy has set me up for success no matter which way we go next month, okay? And I want to share that with you because really I want people to challenge my thesis, right? I want to learn from you. So I'm going to lay out my ideas, my thesis, why I've made the investments I've made, and how I think it plays out no matter who gets in. And then tell me if I'm wrong. If you disagree, if I overlook something, let me know because I want to make sure. This is obviously very important to me. All right. So let's get into it. So to understand why I invest the way I invest, you have to understand these two numbers right here on the screen. So what are these numbers? We've talked about them so many times. If you know me, if you've ever watched any of these videos, you know what these numbers are. Okay. So the top number, that's our national debt. Okay. So our country is almost $36 trillion in the hole. Do you know how hard it is to type out 36 trillion? I literally had to count the zeros, count the commas. It's such a big number, right? It's ridiculously large. It's unfathomable how big it is, okay? So that's our debt. Our debt is 36 trillion, okay? I don't even know what's in that number. That number's been growing longer than I've been alive, right? So no one's responsible for that. Everyone's responsible for that. Now, the second number, that's an important number, okay? Because my bet is based on both of these numbers, and I've hedged both sides, and that's what I'm going to show you. The second number is our GDP. So GDP is gross domestic product, okay? So every country, every state, every town, every place on earth can be measured their economic output, right? So what does our country produce, okay? And that's our gross domestic product. It's goods and services, right? So farms, oil production, gas production, technology firms, right? Services. My real estate company is part of the gross domestic product, right? Like our services that we provide contribute to the economic output of America, right? Construction companies, healthcare, any business, anything that produces, right? Any service provider contributes to the gross domestic product. So a strong country, a country that's powerful, has a large gross domestic product, and it's varied, right? It's not all consolidated in one thing, right? And we can see pockets around the country where the GDP is hyper-focused on one industry, right? That's natural. You go to Iowa, it's farming. Go to Florida, it's tourism, right? 3 hurricanes hit Florida in the past month. That impacts the tourism. Their GDP will go down, right? Until they rebuild, and then it goes right back up, okay? Now, when we talk about recessions and periods of growth in a country, in a period of growth, our gross domestic product is increasing. In periods of recession, it's retracting, okay? So these two numbers are very important to me. It's the foundation of my thesis, okay? No matter who gets in. So here's a secret about the debt, okay? It's very important. We will never pay it off. It doesn't matter what anybody tells you. I don't see a way that we could pay off $36 trillion in debt. I mean, I've heard some theories with like Bitcoin, strategic reserves, and, if we can get X amount of Bitcoin and wait, and then we can, maybe, I don't know. I guess there's theoretically a way, but I don't think we can ever pay off our debt. So how do we win? Because the debt is suffocating us, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. How do we deal with it, right? And I think there's two choices, okay? We can either grow our way out of it. So we grow our economy so much and we stop making new debt that debt becomes less and less of an issue, okay? Or we just print more money, and we just print so much damn money that it doesn't matter, right? I think that's what we've been doing for the last decade or so, right? Not singling anybody out. It transcends politics. right? Every side, everyone we've ever elected has spent our money, local, state, federal level, right? So we can just print, or we can grow our way out of it, and I think I'm hedged either way. So let's get into it, okay? So how do we grow our way out of it? Okay, so this is, like I said, our debt's 36 trillion, our GDP is 28 trillion. So our debt is 124% of our GDP. So we owe way more than we produce, okay? And that's not even factoring unfunded liabilities. That's future debt. That's not even in that number. That's Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and pensions and stuff like that, okay? So a good goal for a country to be at, to not be in trouble, because the debt spirals. Once you break 100%, it just spirals. And I'll show you in a minute how. But a goal for a country is 70%. So our debt should not be more than 70% of our gross domestic product, which means if we can't pay off our debt, then we need to grow our economy. So if our economy is worth 28 trillion right now, we need to grow our economy to 51 trillion to be set and keep our debt flat to be at that 70% ratio. Now, this has happened in history. After World War II, we had so much debt. But if you remember, our country grew like crazy after World War II, and our economy grew so much that our debt became less and less of an issue. And then we had years of prosperity and then recessions and so on and so forth as we move forward. And here we are today. So to get from 28 trillion GDP to 51 trillion GDP, we have to grow our economy with no increase in debt 178%. Okay, 178%. Okay, so that's 40 in a 4-year term. We elect somebody for 4 years, Kamala or Trump, that we need to grow our economy essentially 44% a year with no new spending. That is ridiculously hard. But I have some ideas of how to do it, but it's ridiculously hard. 8-year term, 22%, right? So, it's not something like whoever gets elected isn't going to sign an executive order on day one and solve this. This is cumulative effects, okay? These are decisions that they're going to make and things that they're going to put in place that cumulatively over the course of the administration will grow the economy. And you know me, I'm very bullish. I believe in America. I believe we can grow. Our best days are ahead of us. So how do we grow our economy? Okay, we have to cut spending. So like I said, we need to freeze our debt where it is. We're never going to pay it off. Let's just freeze it, okay? We need to deregulate, okay? So we need to take away regulations, right? And we need to encourage companies and innovators and businesses. We need to make it easy for people to build, innovate, and grow, right? We need to increase our workforce. Now, this is an interesting one, all right? How do we increase our workforce? So we know 25 million people have come to our country in the last few years, okay? For whatever reason. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. I have my theories. But one theory I do have that I think is appropriate here is, and I've seen a lot of this online, people saying, to increase the workforce. Okay, I'll roll with that. So because we're not making enough babies to grow our workforce. Our population isn't growing. Most nations aren't growing population. So fine, we import 25 million people to work for us, right? To help our economy grow. The part that I don't really get, we haven't really vetted these people. So how do we know that the people we brought in have the appropriate skill sets that we need to help our economy grow? If that's why we've made these decisions that we made, right? And it's very expensive right now. We're spending trillions of dollars a year adding to our debt to support this supposed workforce that is here to help our economy grow. So I don't know if that's the best strategy, but maybe it's a strategy. I think there's other strategies through technology, AI, robotics, that we could supplement our workforce, right? So if you own a business and you're trying to hire, everyone's facing this problem right now. I need 10 workers to do a job. I can only find 2, okay? I can only find 2 people worth hiring to do the job that I need for 10 people. We talked about the We Robot event last night. I'm so damn bullish on Tesla because look at those robots and what that could add to our workforce, right? So what if I got the 2 workers and I just got 10 robots? Now I can do the work of 20 with 2 employees because those robots work 18 hours a day. There's no benefits. There's nothing. I don't have to pay them sick leave. I don't have to do anything. And these 2 people that are working for me are just managing the fleet of robots and we're producing. That's how we grow 44%. right? That's how we grow our economy out of our debt and get our numbers back in check, right? We have to find ways to grow our workforce, to grow our economy that don't bankrupt us. Do you understand? So it's not a political thing, it's just a math thing, right? And if we can grow our economy enough to get to this level, then we become a nation of exporting, right? Because we've lowered our cost of labor so much with technology that it's not cheaper to produce goods in China, it's cheaper to produce goods in America. And then we export those goods to the world. Okay. So that's one strategy, right? And again, I'm not an economist. I don't have an MBA. I didn't go to Wharton Business School. I'm just some guy who puts his money where his mouth is, invests in his community, created a business, helped other people grow businesses, and invest in stocks and crypto and real estate and other things like that. And I'm just learning these things, and I'm trying to hedge where I'm at. All right. Doesn't matter who you vote for. I could care less, but this is the math, is the way I see it. So if I'm wrong, comment below because I really want to know. Okay. So the other option, option two, right? Because we said there's two strategies. Grow your way out of it is option one. Option two is print more money. Okay. What does that look like? So right now, our country this year, according to debtclock.org, where I get all these stats, our country is spending this year $7 trillion. $7 trillion. Okay. Now the federal government takes in revenue, call it 5 trillion, 4.9 trillion. Okay. What is the federal revenue to the government? The taxes we pay, tariffs, fees, right? Most of it's taxes. Okay. So we're taxing people $5 trillion a year and we're spending 7. So we're adding $2 trillion a year to the deficit. Okay. What does that cost us a year to run that $36 trillion debt? It's costing us this year, right here, the fourth line down, $968 billion. Call it $1 trillion. Okay. So 20% of our income. All right. So, I'm in real estate, right? Debt to income ratio. That's a big deal. You want to rent an apartment from me? You want to buy a house? Debt to income. Okay. Our debt to income ratio, we're spending 20% of our income to service our debt. And we're not even paying down the debt. Like I said, that debt will never get paid off. We're going to own that as long as we're a country, right? But we're paying $1 trillion a year just on interest. Well, who does that interest go to? It goes to the people that bought our debt, right? So here's the issue with money printing, okay? Printing your way out, that's the key thing right there. Somebody's got to buy your debt, right? So we're a country that is spending 20% of our income on interest to debt. I think sometimes we even create debt to pay the interest on the debt. So someone's got to buy that. And we're adding 40% of our income to the debt load every year. Now let's just look at this for a second. What if you were a person doing that? Okay. So say I'm some guy, make $100,000 a year. Okay. I have infinite debt. Whatever my debt is, I got $400,000 mortgage. I got $200,000 of student loans. I got a $60,000 car note. I got 50 grand in credit cards, whatever, right? They're giving me the money, I'm taking it, all right? Every year out of my $100,000 salary, I'm paying $20,000 a year just on interest on my debt, just to service my debt. And somehow people are letting me add $41,000 a year more in debt. At a certain point, what's going to happen? I'm going to go bust. I'm going to go bankrupt. So what happens when I go bankrupt? Nobody's going to give me credit. Nobody's going to give me debt. Right? I'm going to get cut off, man. I'm cut off. And that's what happens when people file bankruptcy. 4 to 7 years on their credit, they can't get more debt. Dave, it's a country. Countries can't go bankrupt. Absolutely, countries go bankrupt. It happens. And, so what happens when, no one wants our debt anymore because we've printed so much? That's a real possible outcome. Let me ask you guys a question. Are any of you buying Venezuelan government bonds? Zimbabwean government bonds, Turkish government bonds? Anybody rushing to the door, a year or two ago to get them Argentinian government bonds? No. Right? You're like, dude, who wants to buy that debt? Those are countries that went through this process, right? This photo right here, this is what happens when you print too much money. This is Venezuela. This is their cash. People just throw it in the street. And that's how countries go bankrupt, right? They print too much money. Nobody wants your money. You bust. Now, what do? You blow up the system. Everybody loses, and you got to invent a new money and hope that people will fall for it a second time and borrow your money. But it is a possibility because we're the world reserve currency. And for a certain amount of time, I don't know how long that will be, we can just print and just print and print and print and make more money and keep making money. And but what happens when we print money is we all lose. That's how inflation happens, right? So you go to Venezuela, a hamburger is probably $900 for a freaking hamburger. But the wages never keep up with inflation. We know that because we feel that now in America, where our wages aren't keeping up with the cost of our living going up, right? So that poor worker in Venezuela only makes $150 a month, but to go have a burger at McDonald's, it might cost them 900, whatever their currency is, right? Pesos or whatever. So that's what happens. So that's the two options, right? We can grow our way out of it and we can print more money, okay? And each candidate has laid out their economic plans. And, I don't know. So I think that I've diversified enough that no matter who gets elected, I think that I'll be all right. I think. All right. And that's the saying, right? Diversify your portfolio and hedge. And traditionally, diversification was what? You would buy, growth stocks in times when the economy's booming. Then when we're going to a recession, you buy value stocks. You buy, the Johnson and Johnsons and the Kimberly Clarks or whatever it is, the paper companies, right? You buy that stuff, right? I don't believe in that. I believe that we're way beyond that, right? That's an America that doesn't exist anymore. So my two biggest bets right now, and I say it all the time, and it shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody who knows me or follows me or watches any of these videos, okay? My two biggest bets are Tesla and Bitcoin, okay? Tesla and Bitcoin, all right? And this is my breakdown of my stocks and crypto right here, okay? 28% of what I hold is Tesla, okay? 32% is pure Bitcoin. The other 27% of CleanSpark and MicroStrategy, those are stocks that are based on Bitcoin. So that's looking like 50, 60% of my bag is Bitcoin related. 28% is Tesla. And then the other 11% is Solana, which is another crypto. That's kind of like a hedge of Tesla and Bitcoin. I don't know, it's just like another one. But the majority is Bitcoin and Tesla, okay? So my thesis is, if we're going to print money, if we're going to keep spending, then Bitcoin wins, because that's what Bitcoin was designed for, right? If our economy is going to grow, then a Tesla would win, because as we saw the other day on We Robot, Tesla, is primed with AI and robotics for an economy that will grow, okay? So if the government is, so all right, let's just get into it, right? So looking at what we've seen, I believe if Kamala Harris gets in, I think my Bitcoin bag will do amazing, right? And looking at her policies and what she's put forward, she has some interesting ideas. But a lot of the ideas I'm hearing involve, a little bit of spending, some growth, some different ideas, right? But I think in that situation, I think it'll be very beneficial for my Bitcoin. So I won't be mad if Kamala gets in, because my Bitcoin will grow. All right. On the flip side, right, I think if Trump gets in, I think my Tesla bag grows, right? And it's not only because Tesla, Elon Musk is now with Trump and Trump wants to have him help cut the size of the government, just listening to what Trump said and some of his policy ideas that he's put forward. And here's the other thing, guys, right? This is such a unique time in history because both candidates have been in office. So there is no unknown, right? We know, maybe Grover Cleveland, I've researched that a little bit because he was kind of a split presidency in the 1800s. I don't know if the guy in the middle, which I think might have been Hoover, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't know if he ran against Cleveland the second time, like kind of what's happening now. But, it's an interesting time, right? So I think if, just looking purely at what I'm seeing them put out, not telling you to vote for, not picking one over the other, I've already made up my mind, right? If you know me, you know. But I don't care. You vote for whatever you want. That's what makes America so amazing, right? But I've seen the, kind of the writing on the wall, and I'm like, okay, I think if we're going to go the route, and listen, Donald Trump is still going to print money. Like, it's not on day one. This is cumulative, and this is what he's saying he's going to do. So my thesis is, all right, Trump gets in. I think the growth will be a little stronger. I think he'll be more receptive, to those type of ideas. And, I think we'll cut some of the spending out. And I think that'll help our economy grow where Tesla wins, right? But here's a little word to the wise on Tesla, okay? So he's already demonstrated, Elon, The company was based in California. The LLC was based in Delaware. He's shut the operation down in California, moved it to Texas, and he shut the LLC down in Delaware and moved that to Texas as well. Why? California overregulated them. All right. They already came out this week with SpaceX. The Coastal Environmental Commission is mad at Elon and wants to stop him from launching rockets because they don't agree with his political views. Well, that's where you get the overregulation, right? And, in Delaware, there was a lawsuit against a shareholder, so he shut that down. So I think I don't think Tesla is not going to grow under Kamala Harris, right? I think it's just the opposite, because Tesla, under the last 4 years, the stock price has been fairly flat, but they're still innovating. And at a certain point, it would be a shame if the company just packed up and left the country and just went to another jurisdiction that would allow them to grow. They're going to grow in spite of whoever's president, right? But I think, either way, I think my Bitcoin bag will grow because the debt and the money printing doesn't go away. I think it grows more under Kamala, and I think my Tesla bag grows more under Trump. So that's my strategy, guys, okay? That's what my non-MBA Wharton Business School educated brain has devised for an investment strategy, okay? So any feedback you have, comment below. Again, not political. I'm not telling you to vote for. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I could care less who wins, to be 100% honest with you, because my bags are packed. Do you know what I mean? Not literally, figuratively. My investment bags are packed. I feel like I'm hedged. It's all good. Whoever wins, I'll adapt and be successful. Doesn't matter. Okay? But that's the reality of the situation. It's very interesting. So, when you're watching these speeches and you're watching these events, cut through the rhetoric and focus on what's important to you. And what's important to me is economic, and what I've heard, that's my thesis. All right, guys? So, hey, have an amazing day. This one went a little longer. It's kind of heavy, but, I don't know. I wanted to put it out there and see what my friends think. All right? Take it easy, guys. Talk soon.